Hey, how's it going, everybody? Ramses Nava here again. Really excited to go over my next topic as I love selling real estate. I love helping people, and my one of my favorite things is obviously, guiding sellers and what is the right choice for them. Because as owners, a lot of the times we always either overthink when it comes to selling our properties, or sometimes we leave some on the table. So I wanted to come introduce myself and give a few tips that I would give my clients, when it comes to selling their property. So anyways, let's get started. There's 3 tips that I have whenever you're gonna sell your property, as a commercial owner. I always tell people, number one thing is, why are you selling? Ask yourself that question. So there could be a number of reasons why you're selling. Maybe you already have that question answered. Great, wait for step 2. But if you don't, ask yourself, why are you selling? What's the reason? Is it a problem property that you have? Are you looking for better cash flow? Are you trying to maybe go into a different state, a different market? What's the reason you're selling? And the reason why I ask that is because I've helped clients, in the past, just get the property in the market, ready to go. They're gung-ho on selling it. I get them their price, their terms, everything they're looking for. And then at the last minute, they come out and they say, well, you know what, I don't really know if I'm ready, right? So that's the number one thing. Find out why you're selling. That's really important, because maybe you can accomplish that just by getting the right guidance on your property. If it's a trouble property, right? Deferred maintenance on it, maybe. Whatever it may be, you just don't want to deal with it. Maybe there is some guidance there. Maybe you could figure out a way by either talking to other owners or by talking to a broker like myself that can get some ideas out there, because I talk to a lot of owners every single day, and my ears are always out in the market trying to figure out how I can improve or how I can increase value for people that I help, my clients. So number one thing, why are you selling? Really think about that, and see if you could accomplish it with your own property. I've had instances where I had a client that was looking for a higher cash flow, higher cap rate. They wanted to sell and go out of state, right? So we looked at it and we said, well, what are you doing right now on your property? And without getting into details, we figured out that we could increase cash flow by 20% on their property just by cleaning up the leases, getting the rents, up to par, and maybe doing some upgraded, maintenance, and passing through some expenses to the tenants. They didn't know they could do this. So that's another reason why, I think it's really important to talk to an experienced broker, because some brokers out there will tell you one thing and really it's something else. So always ask questions, and always, like I said, ask yourself, why am I selling? Why am I doing this? And make sure you know the why. So that's number one. The other thing is, the next step, I should say, is, I guess, when you figured out why you're selling it, now, depending on the reason, but there's a reason why you want to sell this property. What's wrong with it? Is there something wrong with it? If there's something wrong with it, then fine. It's fine. It's a good property. You just want to exchange into something else. Great. But if it's not a good property, more likely than not, you're choosing this property because it either has a lot of equity and you could go move that equity into something else that's going to increase tremendously in value, or, maybe you just don't want to deal with the property, right? What's wrong with it? And so I ask that because you as an owner, put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, right? Why would me, buyer, come to your property, pay you, let's just say, market value for it, when there's issues with it? Like, let's say you want to sell this property because you're having issues with the tenants. Okay, me as a buyer, I'm gonna have to come in there and get maybe evictions done. I'm gonna have to get an attorney to redo the leases. I'm gonna have to buy people out of their leases maybe, or I'm gonna have to create leases with these month-to-month tenants that it's gonna take time. So it's a lot of what we call it is holding costs, obviously, right? So it's a lot of time. So you have to figure out what's wrong with it, because a buyer is gonna go ahead and discount you that on the price. So the other thing is there any deferred maintenance? Maybe you're selling it because there is deferred maintenance. So that's something to consider. So deferred maintenance can obviously be, as simple as just painting, the outside maybe, or it could be as much as repaving the entire lot. Depending on what that is, you definitely want to understand what that cost is going in to selling your property, because if you're not going to fix it up, at least you know how much it costs, and from there you have an idea. So when a buyer comes, they're gonna try to throw a crazy number out there. You already have the inspection done. Most contractors will do this, for free. They'll give you a free quote. So again, something to consider. What's wrong with it? Why are you, why is it that you're selling this property? And if there is something wrong with it, that is, again, something that we can change either physically, on the outside, or maybe by redoing the leases. That's one thing. But if it's just a functional obsolescence, like let's say you want to develop a drive-through there and it's just not big enough for a drive-through, there's nothing we could do about that. We can't move it. So that's just one thing to to consider when you're going ahead to the sale. So the other thing is any other issues that the property may have. I'm looking down right now. I have some notes right here, so I'm looking down, checking them out. But yeah, the other thing is like roofs. The roofs are really expensive a lot of the time, so that's another thing to consider. The other thing is the tenants. That's really important. So I know I touched on it right now briefly, but let's just say that you determined, okay, the leases are not really cleaned up, right? I have them all on month to month. What should I do? Now, if you have a big, large property that's just leased up, you don't have to worry about that. It's one tenant, and maybe you have to eat the cost of leasing it to them at a lower rate, the whole space, and once they're gone, maybe you can increase the rate or divide up the space. But for the most part, when you have multiple units and all of them, let's say most of them are on month-to-month leases, they're 30% below market value on the lease rates, and you're not passing down any expenses, so you're having to eat the cost of the the property taxes, and let's say some of the maintenance costs, the CAM charges that you can't pass through. We got to clean those up before you move forward, in my opinion. Like, if you want to maximize value, that's why I said come down to it. Like, you have to determine, is it better to just sell it as is cash, or should we go through the process of do this? Because remember, to reposition, like to get your property ready, for the most part, it's going to take anywhere from 30, 60, 90 days, depending on how much work we need to do when it comes to the leases. Something to consider. But again, a broker like myself, or any other great brokers out there that are experienced in this, they're going to go ahead and tell you that information. And, hopefully they do. And if not, share this video with a friend that maybe didn't have the same info you did. You come across, you find any value, like, let them know about it. So that's the other thing when it comes to that and the tenants. There's a few other things I can go into in detail regarding that. Tenants, maybe a space that you have that's vacant and you're wondering, should you fix it up or just offer them TI credit? That's another thing to consider. But again, I don't want to go into depth. This would be a 30-minute video. So anyways, let's go on to the final, I guess, point. And that comes down to, do you really need a broker to sell your property, or can you sell it yourself? Now, I'll be honest with you, as much as I want to sit here and tell you, hey, use me, I think that you should work with me, always work with the broker no matter what, it's always beneficial no matter what. In many cases, it is because there's a lot of liability that comes when selling a property, depending on the property type. It could take a while to sell, and it's a pain it's a pain to sell it sometimes. You have to go through a lot of processes, whether it be following up with the city, following up with the buyers, the people that are inquiring about it. Then you have to go and try to put it advertised out there. And you could definitely go on certain sites that offer it, and they do work. So don't get me wrong, it does work. You could sell it by yourself and definitely save some money on the commissions, but you got to determine that yourself. So again, what type of property do you have? How easy is it to sell it, right? And how much would you really save, right? So, I have a properties that I've sold for 1% commission or whatever, just a flat fee, because it really was just as simple as me taking the listing, putting it on, filing some paperwork, right? And doing it. But the difference is, as an agent, we do make money on commissions, but also we pay our insurance, which is errors and omissions. If there's any mistakes that are made, if you get sued, right, they're not just naming you in the lawsuit, they're gonna be naming us, and you could always put the blame back on somebody else, right? But if you sell it yourself, you have to take the blame. So again, It depends on your situation. I'm not going to sit here and say all brokers are great, because sometimes you do come across agents that are difficult to work with or get a hold of, and it's just not the best situation. So I don't recommend it for everybody to sell it on their own, but if you're an experienced owner, and obviously, you know, if you're a really experienced owner, me telling you all this is just yes, I get it. So I'm not going to go out any further on that. But again, I would love to earn your business. My name is Ramses Nava. I am an active commercial broker here in the Inland Empire, just right here outside the Ontario airport, based out of Ontario, California. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to comment below. Any other topics maybe you want to see, I'll be posting some more videos in regards to what you should do to prepare if you have a maybe residential property, whatnot. So take a look at them, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys got some value out of this. Please subscribe if you want to see some more. So have a good one. Talk to you soon.